Hello, everyone. My name is Adrienne, and I am a content manager with Sphero. We're going to wait for everybody to trickle into this webinar before we get started. But while you're waiting, on the screen, there is an icebreaker. So please go ahead, introduce yourself in the chat, and give your answers for the two questions. I wanted to remind everybody before you submit those to change your chat to send to everybody so that we can see your answers. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started in just a few minutes. And if you want to put your guesses to these questions, you can put like Q1 and what you think the answer to that question is, and then Q2 and what you think the answer to that question is. Iowa. Oh, wow, New York, Texas, Aruba. A lot of people saying really high percentages for question 1 and question 2. Just a reminder too, while we're waiting, that this is the second cybersecurity session. Today's topic is cyber safety. And if you weren't able to attend the one last week, we are going to make the recordings available to everybody. So if you missed one, you'll have the opportunity to go back and watch it. A lot of guesses coming in. We'll get started. The answer to question 1, what percentage of phishing emails are opened by the recipient? The answer to that one is 30%. But question 2, what percentage of data breaches occur because of phishing is much higher, and that is 90%. So I thought those were both pretty interesting stats to start our cyber safety session today. So welcome. Like I said, my name is Adrienne Emerson. This is our second cybersecurity session on cyber safety. Your audio is muted, your camera is off, so don't worry about that. Again, please participate in the chat. Make sure that you've set your to chat to everyone instead of just panelists and hosts. We are going to be answering questions live. We may not get to all of them, but we're going to try. And we will be giving away a bolt at the end of the session. So make sure you stay tuned for that to see if you have won. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our host for the evening. Many of you could probably remember her from last week, but Pauline is our cybersecurity expert, and I am going to let her take it over from here. So Pauline, get us started.
Well, good day, everyone, because everyone's in different places. So we say good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. And thank you, Adrienne, for that wonderful, warm welcome. We're so happy that you joined us back again for round 2. And what we're going to be discussing today, if we can have on our next slide, please, is we'll review a little bit of what we covered last week. Last week, we took a look at the CIA triad and how these 3 components, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, when they are ensured, how security can be maintained. And when they are, as we call it, a hack attack, then security is not being met. So what we want to take a look at today is we really want to focus on the confidentiality. And because if we can teach our students to maintain the confidentiality of their information, this will help to keep them safe. And so we need students to really understand why they need to keep their personal information confidential. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. We can have our next slides, please. So why is cyber safety important? Well, as you just heard from the percentages we had in our icebreaker, and also these 3 additional reasons, Cyber safety instruction helps students see the correlations and the connections between good digital citizenship. And students, they need to know the facts and the cause and effects of personal responsibility or the lack of their personal digital citizenship and what it will cause. So 3 things we're going to be focusing on today, 3 strands, is first, we want you to know that students today are addicted to technology. They're on that phone, they love that phone, they have that conversation with that phone, and that can be good or bad depending upon how you look at it, but we want to keep them safe, right? The second thing is that cyberbullying has exploded because so many of our youths are on their technology. The research says that 59% of US teens have received, unfortunately, either an intimidating, a threatening, or some sort of nasty communication online. And studies show that because our youth are on their screens at such long periods of time, sometimes 4 to 6 hours a day, that their empathy, their lack of empathy is quite evident, right? And their socialization, and of course, coming out of the pandemic, that has also been exacerbated. So yes, thank you for the next slide. So why do we want to teach cyber safety to students? We want to focus today. There's many reasons why. But in our short time together today, we really want to focus on 3 areas that we feel are so important, and 3 areas that you can easily demonstrate with Bolt. So the first is digital citizenship. And what does that mean? We're going to dive into that deeper, but just to give you an overview, it's really teaching students how to make good ethical decisions, because what they do today will impact their future tomorrow, because every decision they make online is actually captured into what we call a digital footprint. And we'll talk more about that later. The second reason why cyber safety is imperative that you impart to your students is cyberbullying. You know, years ago, it was the playground bully, which we still may have in a physical form, but today we have bullying online. And that is where students make various kinds of comments or posts that can have negative and severe ramifications. So we want to talk about that. And the third is phishing. And we're going to show you today how to recognize the signs of harmful emails, so you'll know that you can show this for yourself, and also teach your students to recognize these signs so that they don't open these emails. Instead, they delete them and they put them into the trash. So we're going to show you how to teach cyber safety using Bolt, which is very, very exciting. Okay, so we're going to move to our next slide. So the first strand we want to talk about is personal digital hygiene. The first rule of safety, right? It's almost when they tell you when you get on an airplane, they say, first put the mask on yourself first before you help anybody else. Likewise, this applies in the cyberspace. Before you can help anybody else in your cyber community, you first have to take care of yourself. So we're going to talk about what is ethical online behavior for students. And in that discussion, we're going to talk about password guidelines and best practices, some cyber safety suggestions. We don't want to call them rules, but they're suggestions. And we're also going to talk about authentication. And these 3 areas will help students to preserve their safety online, which is so critical to making sure that they don't fall victim or prey to cyber crimes. Next slide, please. So again, this shows you, these are some percentages that we keep sharing with you in our various discussions, because we want you to use this slide in your presentations so you can impress upon the students how important their digital safety is. Because 40% of students have connected with a stranger, 53% of them have given their phone number, right? 15% tried to meet someone, and 78% of these victims happen to be children. So these statistics, yes, as someone said in the chat, they really are startling and scary. And that's why we need your help as educators, as friends, family, administrators, to help bring about safety and impact these statistics and really make a decrease in these statistics. And one way is by educating students and letting them really understand why they need to take responsibility for their safety online. Okay, we'll move to our next slide. One way, most students, before they can even begin working on their computer or their phone, there is a password. So this is the first level of defense in keeping their information secure and safe, is by having a very good password. So this is a list of some suggestions of what you can suggest that they do. The first is to have a very strong password, to take time out to really think of a good, strong password to secure their information so that a hacker cannot have access to their information. A strong password is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not the name of their pet. It's not the date of their birth. It's not, their favorite food like pizza. So you'd want to tell them that they really want to think about a very unique, complex password that if they were a hacker, it would be very difficult for that person to figure out their password. Okay. The second thing is, if they have multiple accounts, like if they have a password on one program and another program and one at school and one on their phone, they really should not use the same password for all systems, because if a hacker were to have access to that password, then they would have access to all of their systems. So they really should use separate passwords for multiple accounts. And they could even have a software that can help them keep track of it. But because they're young and they're youthful and their memories are quick, they should be able to remember all their passwords. So these, again, some tips we would suggest that you recommend that they do. They change their passwords frequently. They don't recycle old passwords, and they don't write their password on a sticky note like this and then stick it on the actual device, because that's not very secure. So we want to keep their passwords secure. They really should not share their passwords with anyone unless, other than their parents. As minors, their parents should have access to their passwords. But as far as sharing their passwords with their friends, we try to discourage that, because that could open them up for a potential threat or hack. So just as we have guidelines in the physical world, like sometimes you teach your kids, or as a teacher, kindergarten teacher or elementary school teacher, administrator, or someone that's working with youth, you may say, stranger danger, don't tell, go to bed on time, or brush your teeth, or, don't speak to strangers, that type of thing. We also have guidelines for cyberspace, right? And just as you would, if you don't know a stranger, you wouldn't run up to them and just tell them all your information. Likewise, on the internet, or when you're online, we recommend that you advise students never to meet someone in person that you've met in the cyber world, because you don't know who they are. They may be posing as a kid, but then in real life, they could be adult, and that has actually happened. You should also tell them never to give out their personal information online, because they don't know who is behind there. We just don't know. People pretend to be people that they're not. And don't respond to any messages or get engaged in a conversation with someone that you don't really know, or that is not a reputable person or entity or organization. And never put your personal information, like say where you live, or, I'm home alone right now and I'm feeling lonely and my parents are out. Things like that, because kids sometimes aren't thinking, and sometimes they want to use the internet to express themselves. So you want to tell them this is not a good forum to really expressing themselves, because you don't know who's listening and you don't know who's going to respond. And we want them to be safe.
Pauline,
Okay.
I have a quick question from the chat
Sure.
about passwords. Is it safe to save on a cloud chain?
That's a good question. It's good to save on a cloud chain, depending upon if that cloud chain is password protected. If it's just open and anyone has access to it, then no.
Yeah.
We want your passwords to be safe and secure. So again, it's just asked me like, well, where, if I have the keys to the house, should I put the keys in a safe, or should I put them outside my house, like in the mailbox, like some people do? It's not very secure. So the same thing, the cloud is safe, provided it depends who has access to it, and if it's public access or if it's private access, or again, if it's safeguarded. So that is an excellent question, but I would recommend not putting it up in the cloud, because right now certain parts of the cloud are secure and certain parts are open or at risk. So just to keep everything safe and not put yourself at risk, it's just best to put them in some sort of password manager, or write it down put it in a certain hiding spot. And it is very difficult managing passwords.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And and that there's so many different strategies for managing your passwords. So, and like someone said, many teachers have student passwords taped to the desk. Yeah, and that's not, that's not, for learning purposes, that's okay. Station 1, station 2, you have all these different stations, because, you're just doing educational, or you're doing training, but that's not a practice you want them to practice, moving forward or on their devices. So, but those are really great questions.
Yeah. Thanks for that information.
So this brings us to, again, confidentiality and preserving your information online for students. And you really have to teach students authentication. Authentication is, do we really know that you are you? And so authentication is a process that, again, this is part of good digital hygiene, and it ensures that whoever should have access does have accessibility to that information. So this is why you have your passwords, because the password is authenticating that you are really you, and this is your information. Just as when you call up places to buy something, they'll say, what is your date of birth? What is your last 4 digits of social security number? Again, they're asking you all this personal information to authenticate that they're really dealing with you, because over the phone, they don't really know. You could say, I am Mrs. Smith, and they don't really know. So yes, as someone said, a 2-factor authentication, which means we authenticate you 2 times. We ask for 2 pieces of information, or sometimes 3 pieces of information, to validate who you are. There's some devices that now use fingerprints or eye scanning from the retina to try to make it a little bit more secure. And again, a way of protecting information that is personal and confidential for the person. So we'll move along to our next slide. So once you can practice, students can practice their own digital hygiene and taking care of themselves and preserving themselves on safety, we want them also, when they go online, to look out for their fellow members online. And we call this digital citizenship. So this is now teaching students to really understand ethical online behavior for the community. So if they join a Zoom session, or if they're in an open forum, we want them to act appropriately. We want them to communicate and engage and be involved in discussion, but not say anything negative or spiteful or bully someone. And we also want them to know that wherever they surf the web, right, surf the web or travel the web, the operating system is collecting where they're going, and we call this digital footprints. It's keeping track of every move that they make, every site that they go to, and it's putting that in some sort of a profile. And when they get ready to look for a job down the road, a lot of organizations and companies and HR personnel will look at either their Facebook profile, they'll look at their digital footprint, they'll look to see where were they go, to get a holistic view of this person, to say what interests you. Do you like to travel? What groups are you interested in? What were you talking? They look at your posts. And from that, they can put together a very holistic dossier of the person's profile of where they went. Sometimes where you have gone may give the personnel or a bad view of you. So that's why it's important to impress upon students that they don't want to really go on porn sites or different sites that are not edifying or that could jeopardize their career down the road. So we'll move to our next slide. We want them to be safe. So we call this digital footprint, and it means everywhere you go, you leave a trail. There is a trail that keeps track, and it never really goes away. It's there. And so even the posts, what they post is very important. And so a couple of rules, good questions that they can ask themselves before they make a post is, would I be okay if my grandma or my granddad was reading this, or my teacher was reading this? Would this be okay if they saw curse words or they saw me saying something that is inappropriate? Would they be okay? So that's one rule of thumb. We can ask students to do a check before they post it, because once they put a statement or phrase or out there, it stays out there, and it's very hard to retract, and it's very hard to defend. And even if you say, I'm sorry, the damage has been done to that individual. And this is why we talk about the community, the digital citizenship, being a good citizen in the cyber community. We want people to feel safe and be safe.
And Pauline, what would you say to kids that think that they're posting things on social media, like privately or only to their friends or something like that?
That's a good question. Sometimes I think it's private, but it's not really private, because that friend might share it with another friend and share it with another friend. So what you think is private may not be private. It's just like if you tell a secret to somebody, right? In the old days, when I was growing up, if someone shared a secret and you say, well, I just told Susie and I just told my friend Adam, but then Susie and Adam told other people. So it's not really private. It's just not private. So, you need to understand, like I said, again, this is why their safety is so important, and the ramifications of what you say online can be a domino rippling effect. So that's an excellent question, Adrian. Thank you for bringing that up. So that's why students need to understand it's not just everywhere they go, but it's everything they say, anything they do online. It's out there for the whole world to see. So even if they take a picture, like a selfie, oh, I'm just showing my girlfriend, this is my new sexy look. Well, it's out there, and everybody wants to see the sexy look. And maybe you didn't intend for it to go viral, but just think, if this goes viral, am I going to be embarrassed by what I'm putting out? So you have to just think about these things. And sometimes kids really don't think, or sometimes they think it's a joke. They take a picture of another student in an uncompromising position, and they put it out there and they think it's a joke. And that student is just so shamed and so embarrassed, because maybe in their culture, it's just so damaging that sometimes, we're all adults here. So we do need to have these difficult conversations. And sometimes the cyberbullying and what has been posted is so damaging that youth sometimes, because they can't handle the mental anguish of it, they sometimes do things to themselves and take their lives and do things that are very, very tragic. It has a very serious, tragic consequence. And so that's why this digital safety unit is so critical that they understand, because we are all in a position where we can save lives, we can save students' character, we can save their confidence, we can save their esteem by letting them think just before they put that post out there and say, would you want this done to you? You know, there's an old adage that says, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. So would you want someone to exploit you like that? Then don't do that. And I think those are good rules of thumb, you know, for us to live by, to make our cyber community safe and safe for all, and make everyone feel welcome in that community.
Wonderful. That was great information. Very powerful.
Thank you. So yeah, so we have this, your reputation, right? This, where you go, really compiles and puts together your reputation on the slides, right? So the pictures we post, the places we visit, right? They all make up our reputations that really can't be, like we said, washed away. And we do, everybody, we do silly things in our childhood, but if we can impress upon our youth, you know, what they're doing, and make them more thoughtful and kinder, we can have a kinder world in cyberspace, you know, and that's what it's about. So this is something we hope you can do. And this leads us into our next thing, which is cyberbullying, right? Is someone, or it could be a group of people or an entity or an organization, right, that wants to harm or frighten or intimidate people by sending them very, very unpleasant messages that can be done through email, Instagram, Twitter, or texting. So we kind of spoke about this already, so we'll move right along. We really want them to stop the bullying, and this is a great conversation for students to have in your class as a discussion, is what do you do with a bully and how do you stop the bully? Sometimes it's difficult, you know, physical or in cyberspace. How do you handle these bullies, and what do you do? Many people are very intimidated. They say, if I do it, if I snitch, what's going to happen to me? It's going to be a worse consequence. So it varies on the setting. It varies on the subpopulation that's doing it, what strategies, you know, could be done. And we can talk more about this, having a discussion of this as soon as we finish our slides. But some of the suggestions we have here is you could not respond, you could be a friend, you could save the evidence, you can talk to, you know, an adult, you can be civil, you could block the bully. These are all different types, a few strategies of what to do. But we can talk more about this once we finish. We have a few more slides. Okay, our third reason for teaching safety is phishing, all right? Phishing is really the practice of hackers that use emails, and they use social media, emails, texts, and other venues of social media to try to get your personal information. Because if they get your personal information, then it's no longer confidential. And then they can do whatever they want to do to your system. So what we're going to do in this next round is we're going to have some interaction. We want you to put it into the chat. We want you to see, if you were to get, this has probably happened to most of you, is how to recognize these scam emails. Okay, so we're going to put the next slide up. And this is a scam email. Now, how do you know this is scam? You could just put it right in the chat. What gives this away as a scam email? Yes, blank areas. Yes, spelling mistakes, exactly.
I see a not personalized, the check activity, no logo with errors.
Right. And so sometimes you get this, oh, your Google account, click here. They want you to click on that, right? And in that, when they click over that link, then it's probably going to ask you to enter in your personal information. So yes, so this is one of them. Okay, very good. And you can look at the URL, correct. The
Yep.
URL is not from Google and there's no date, correct. So let's move to the next slide. Very good job. Okay, this is another one. Now they're trying to get your password on here. They're telling your password has changed, right? And it's telling you from Microsoft account password has changed. And again, oh, someone said this happened to her.
me.
Okay. Okay. Yes, this is a quite popular one. They think your password has changed, right? And it's .net. It's really not from the actual vendor. They always try to pose as a reputable organization. And they trying to get you to reset your password and click on this link and type in your old password. And when you type in your old password, bing, they got you. They have that. And yes, and they're always very good lawyer. They always try to create a sense of urgency. Like if you don't do this right now, your whole system's going to crash. And again, that is scammers. So these are very good, an example that you can teach your students to look out for all of these signs, lots of signs. Okay, let's do one more. Again, this is high severity alert. Okay, high severity alert has been triggered. And they ask you to view the details of this, right? And again, this is another one asking you to click on it, view alert details. So when they want you to click on something, force you to click on something. And when you click on it, then they have you, you know, either it's a worm or it's a virus, or they're trying to get more of your information. So one thing to note is that Microsoft and all these companies are never going to send you an email. They're going to either call you or they're going to put something in the mail. You're not going to just get an email arbitrarily.
And Glenn made a really good point in the chat that these are becoming more realistic and really hard to tell if they are a phishing scam or not, just because these hackers put in so much effort to make them look real. So it's really hard to check.
Yes, it is. So if you're not sure, then when in doubt, delete it. If the organization really needs you to change something, they're gonna bombard you a couple of times and call you. They know, they have your information, they know where you are. And if you're ever in doubt, you can always call them up and say, is there something wrong with my account? Just don't, you know, be gullible to this. All right, so now we're going to take a look at text. We have two here. That this also may happen to you as well. I get one every couple of weeks. Right, so it's sending you a refund. Please reply with your bank account and routing number. Now, why in heavens would you put your bank and routing number? Okay, Amazon, again, yes, misspellings, or they could say, congratulations, you won 1,000 Walmart gift card, you know, go here to claim it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So you don't want to click on anything. You don't want to give your information. So yes, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, absolutely. Yes, Amazon does not text. Yep. All right, so let's move along. Again, they can say your credit card has been temporarily locked. Again, it's always something very critical, very urgent. Call this number. Or your account is temporarily locked. Okay, and again, if something is wrong with your card, or the bank would call you, or you can call your bank to find out, but they would not text you something just like this again. So again, these are great ways to demonstrate to students phishing, to what to look for. It just makes them a little bit more aware before they just go and panic and just accept that what they're seeing is truth. All right, so how do we teach these wonderful concepts with both? Again, we have these free cybersecurity labs that we have developed and designed, and Sphero has designed to help you illustrate these same concepts very, very easily. So if we move to the next slide, we have, again, this is the book. We showed you this last time, again, these 20, but now we're going to specifically show you how you can teach cyber safety, and you can illustrate it and demonstrate it and then have a conversation. So we'll move right on to our next slide. So the digital footprint, which we spend so much time on discussing, right, which is such a powerful concept for students to understand, we have this lab here where students work with the entire class to create a visual digital footprint, right, of where they're going. And then they can have the discussion of, you know, did we make good decisions of where we were going and what we were looking at? And that generates discussion, and that generates understanding. And it's also a visual that they can actually see. The second example we can use both is cyberbullying. We have our code here. So students use variables, and this is a nice segment of code, right, to represent their personalities. So we can use through colors, and that's what you see here. The colors represent their personalities. And so you can have a wonderful discussion with students, asking them, well, how does that make you feel when someone said, you know, you were too fat, or you're really dumb, or you don't know, or you look ugly? How did that make you feel? Because the bolt would change from a bright yellow to maybe a purple, showing that it was happy and then it was sad. So by visualizing the colors and the changing of the colors shows how someone's confidence, the colors can be, it's really a metaphor for their feelings of or confidence or their self-esteem. And when the bully or these comments are made, how that destroys someone's confidence and their self-esteem and their feeling a part of a group. They now feel isolated and they don't want to be part of the group, or they're nervous to speak out. So it's a great visual way to, again, have a very difficult conversation, but it's using these bolts to represent a scenario or a situation or students. So it takes an onus off of the students.
Oh, go ahead. I saw a comment earlier that said a lot of students really don't know what to do other than tell somebody when there's cyberbullying going on. And another thing this lesson focuses on is different reactions and strategies that you can take in that scenario, not just telling an adult. So,
right. And then in our last example is phishing, right? Sorry, my 1 second.
the lights again.
I'm sorry, I'm in a room with a light goes. I don't move, sorry. So our last example is phishing. And again, students can use this to play a game and explore different social engineering schemes, like we said, just like we said, through text or through email. They can simulate what the phishing is, and through the bolt, so they can actually see, does someone, you know, how does another bolt respond to that particular phishing? You know, what information do I know? Little information do I know about you that I can get more information about you? So these are, again, you can look these programs up, they're all there, and this will help you to actually demonstrate these fantastic concepts on teaching them how to be safe, and then leading them into further dialogues as such.
So we have one last chat interaction in the chat. So what is one thing that you will take away from this session? So we'd love to hear what resonated with you and what you felt was really great information from this session. And we'll let everybody type their answers in the chat, and then we'll get to our Bolt giveaway for today. See a few answers for the digital footprint. and cyberbullying responses. Yes, those are all great. Better knowledge for phishing, reputations online, and the importance of cyberbullying. So these are all great. And again, all of these are really important parts of cyber safety, which we really here at Sphero is one of the things that we really want to be able to have, give you the tools to better understand these concepts. And that's why we've been working with Pauline to create these awesome lessons with you and to do these Sphero sessions with you as well. It seems like all of you agree that these are really important topics. Awesome. Well, next up, next week, we have our last cybersecurity Sphero session on November 1st, and that's going to be on using Bolt in the classroom, after school, and camps and beyond with cybersecurity content. So, and as we've said a few times in the chat today, after that last Sphero cybersecurity session, you will get a recording of all of the sessions, so that if you weren't able to make it to all of them, you can watch the recording and still get your cybersecurity badge. So be on a lookout for that information once we wrap up that session next week. So it is time for our giveaway, and today our winner of the Sphero Bolt is Imani. And I don't have your last name right in front of me, I'm sorry. We will be in contact with you. We have your information to get in touch with you to find out where to send that. So again, please check your email and we'll be reaching out soon. Before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you again to Pauline for participating and being our host for these sessions. She's such an expert in this area, and we really love working with her and hearing all of the great information she has for us. So thank you so much for attending tonight. Please follow us on social media, and if you take a quick if you want to tell us what you think about these Sphero sessions, we have a quick survey link for you, and our contact information if you have any further questions. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening or a good day, depending on where you are, and we will see you next week.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.